Nick Reiner appearing in court today, charged with murdering his parents, Hollywood power couple Rob and Michelle Reiner. The 32-year-old did not enter a plea during his arraignment on 2 counts of first-degree murder. Instead, his defense lawyer, Alan Jackson, withdrew from the case.
Help us make sense of the stepping down of a very high-profile attorney on this case. It seemed as though whatever the reason for Alan Jackson to step down from this case, that was told to the judge potentially in chambers here.
But be clear, be very, very clear about this. My team and I remain deeply, deeply committed to Nick Reiner and to his best interests. In fact, we know that the legal process will reveal the true facts of the circumstances surrounding this case.
What the heck happened, Alex?
Yeah, a lot of action in the last couple of minutes. So court started, and immediately the attorneys went into chambers and talked to the judge. And Nick Reiner was in court during all of this, just sitting behind glass where defendants go, Kira, waiting for his attorney at that time, Alan Jackson, to come back out.
And when he came back out, well, he was really out. Take a look at the new face of Nick Reiner's public defender. It is Kimberly Green, the deputy public defender, who will now represent Nick Reiner. That's right, Alan Jackson is out, Kimberly Green is in. And there's a lot of confusion about exactly who, what, and why. Green herself seems to think it has nothing to do with the family.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear. Thoughts build up until I can't feel. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
Now, the LA Times described this bombshell development as follows. The brief hearing played out before a packed courtroom filled by a crush of media and members of the public who came to observe Reiner's second appearance in court. Rumors that Jackson was dropping out of the case were whispered in the courthouse early Wednesday morning as the chief spokeswoman for the LA County Public Defender's Office was seen milling around outside the courtroom. Jackson and his team disappeared into McGonigal's, that's not McGonagall, McGonigal's chambers around 9:15 a.m. And of course, when he came out, several public defenders' office officials could be seen sitting in the front row of the courtroom, and Jackson walked one of them over to speak with Reiner. My guess is that was Kimberly. According to the Hollywood Reporter, whether Reiner's brother and sister, whether Jake and Romy knew of the swap, knew of this change in counsel, well, Green said, "We've had no contact with the family. We don't think they knew." This suggests possibly there was a disagreement about strategy, but if that were the case and Nick still had access to big bucks, surely he would have replaced Jackson with just another high-powered LA lawyer, not taken the huge step down from a crack team to a single public defender. If anyone knows what's going on here, it's Nick. And at least according to the New York Post, Nick, this time dressed in a brown smock, smirked while in court. We have to take what the New York Post says with a pinch of salt, but if it's true, if he was smiling, then I guess he was enjoying all the consternation that was basically centered on him, centered on Nick. And I think he was enjoying the attention that I think he's been lusting after all this time. According to the New York Post, Reiner smirked and smiled in a Los Angeles Superior Court wearing a brown jumpsuit with a white t-shirt underneath and shackled at his wrists and ankles. The jumpsuit was a different look than Reiner's last appearance where he wore a blue smock. He only addressed Judge Teresa McGonigal once when asked if he agreed to a next court date of February 23rd. "Yeah, I agree to that," the wayward son said. A group of Nick Reiner's lawyers, including Jackson, were in court with him, but Jackson announced that he and his firm would be withdrawing from the case, according to the New York Post. Jackson said he was making the decision with Nick Reiner's understanding and consent. Okay, so maybe Alan Jackson can explain the change of heart. Nope. Well, according to the New York Post, Jackson told the judge that he had no choice. He had no choice, which suggests that Jackson, if he could have his way, would still be on the case, right? And so why is it that he is not on the case? And so he said he claimed he was legally prohibited from publicly explaining why. On the other hand, Jackson was combative outside court, telling reporters in LA Mag he's not guilty of murder, print that. He also said that Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. We wish him the very best moving forward. Rolling Stone has provided an extended version of Jackson's statement. I had to withdraw as Nick Reiner's counsel because of circumstances beyond our control, but more importantly, circumstances beyond Nick's control have dictated that. So that doesn't suggest that Nick changed his mind. Sadly, it's made it impossible for us to continue our representation of Nick. Now, with Jackson gone, I think the chance of this case still going to trial has actually dropped considerably. If Jackson had a real appetite to try this case in court, a public defender less habituated to the spotlight might be less invested, a lot less invested. And I do believe Jackson really wanted this case. He's not off it, I believe, because he wanted off. I think he wanted in. It's exactly the sort of marquee, high-profile celebrity case that he normally does with his sort of paycheck. Jackson also said, according to Rolling Stone, me and my team, we dropped everything for the last 3 weeks. We have devoted literally every waking hour to protecting Nick and his interests. We've investigated this matter top to bottom, back to front. So what gives? Well, I think Jackson is off because the big money is off the table, which means, I'm guessing, that someone had a big change of heart over the holidays. Interestingly, Alan Jackson also said that pursuant to the laws of the state, pursuant to the law in California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. Jackson seems to be saying this is all about the letter of the law and how it's interpreted, and I guess that he's got a superior understanding of it compared to the LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman, who was also outside the court in downtown LA today saying otherwise. Now, Jackson seems to be saying, as I say, this is all about the letter of the law and how it's interpreted. I'm not sure that's true, and I think Nick's own history is going to be tough to defend. Nick's own words spoken in the past are going to be tough to defend. I think the neutral tone of the Reiner family really speaks volumes about what isn't said and about who isn't mentioned in it. According to Rolling Stone, in a statement, a spokesman for the Reiner family said they have the utmost trust in the legal process and will not comment further on matters related to the legal proceedings. Very vanilla, and you kind of get the sense that Alan Jackson is actually saying Nick's name and talking about Nick's interests. His own family don't seem to be doing the same thing. In any event, I'm not going to take it further than that. Nick Reiner's arraignment has been postponed until February 23rd based on today's change of counsel. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.